clear under the heading of members.
So which one is bright? We cover this one first. Should I disconnect this one permanently? How to disconnect it permanently? Yes.
Eso uno llega abajo. Vamos, como. Estamos limpios.
Click. If I click on it, the meeting goes off. Where do you want it? Where is the page? Okay.
Yes.
Submit. You want to unmute it? Is unmuted?
070. Slide.
Chief, how are you, sir?
Good to hear from you.
My chief.
My brother, where are you?
I'm in Lagos, so.
Obani. Where are you?
Yes, sir. I'm in Lagos.
Okay. What are you, Chimwekuku? Where are you?
I'm in Aba, Mike. I'm in Aba. Aba.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aba.
Chief is in Aba.
Yeah, Aba.
Yes, I'm in Aba. Yes.
Aba.
Okay.
You know I'm
Obani, how are you?
You know I'm 180 number. Digo.
That's cool.
I go to you are one. We're not questioning it.
Where does, sir?
One December. Yeah, Obani, how are you?
Fine. My other brother.
I'm fine, sir. Ndeo.
What about the kid? Is he there?
Hello. Yes, I am here, sir.
Okay.
I am here.
The kid is.
I am here, sir.
Okay. Thank you, my brother. What about Malik?
Thank you, sir.
Malik has traveled. Malik is not going to get involved.
Okay, Malik is not around.
Okay, it's all right.
He's traveled. He's not around.
Okay.
So just Mike, yourself, and Ikide.
Yes.
Ubani.
Okay.
Ubani is with us.
I've taken over the NBA secretariat. I'm in Abuja.
Okay, sir.
You're welcome.
Right at the NBA.
Any way you can put me on.
You'll be prepared to make an account. Mike.
So I can use it. You don't know how to use it.
Say you'll be prepared to make an account immediately after the session.
Okay.
That put me because you know this thing is important to anyway. Let me call him. What's that his name again? Dami. Larry. Dami, I discover that the volume is a bit poor, so he would have put me on that Bluetooth, you know, so because it's a bit poor. I don't know. Please, let somebody come, please. Hello, Pat.
Zabani, can you hear me? Zabani, just mute yourself. Meet him here. No, just look at himself. Okay. The chairman, you can start the session.
Ibodo. How you did that?
Are we ready?
I'm telling you, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Gentlemen, are we ready?
That is the truth. That's the truth. God bless you.
I am ready. I am ready if my chairman is ready.
I tried to
I want to find out from Mike and if we're ready.
We are ready, sir.
Mike, are we
Yeah,
ready?
good.
Are we ready?
Yes, sir. We are ready. We are
What
ready.
about Mike?
I think it's on the phone.
It's on the phone, yes.
Please, can you take off Lenny Silk and let him start? Panelists, you're on air, you're live. Tell the Lenny Silk to put off his phone. You're live.
Okay.
You're on air. Please start.
Yeah, Mr.
Please start your session.
Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. We are now at the session, and at this session, we are going to discuss security and extrajudicial killing. Well, we know extrajudicial killing as unlawful and deliberate killing carried out by order of government or its security agencies. This we know violates the rights to life as guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Several reports and publications have shown that extrajudicial killings seem to be an intrinsic part of law enforcement in Nigeria, while the security agencies remain unaccountable because the system does little or nothing to deter the impunity. To discuss this topic, I have with me a team of very experienced lawyers. One is Chief Michael Zekome, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The other is Chief Ikibe Ehihele and Mondi Onyekachi Obani. These gentlemen will do justice to this topic. And I will start to find out from these gentlemen that in some quarters in Nigeria, people believe that incidents of extrajudicial killing are now on the increase every day. Chief Mike, as the chief speaker, I want to find out from you, do you subscribe to this view? Do you agree with us that it is on the increase in Nigeria on a daily basis?
Yes, thank you very much, Chief.
We want to hear you louder, sir.
I totally agree with you that extrajudicial killing is on the increase in Nigeria, particularly from trigger-happy police officers and members of the military force, whether Army, Navy, or the Air Force, even by paramilitary forces. like immigration, customs, fire service, Federal Road Safety Corps, Civil Defense Corps, and such other paramilitary forces. But first, for us to understand this concept, we must know that security is paramount to the development of any society. Because without security, there can't be any form of economic development. And security could be viewed as the degree of protection against damage, danger, loss, or crime, and it entails the presence of an atmosphere that is conducive for the pursuit of legitimate individual, group, or national interests. Because of this, the bulk legislation, both domestic and international, are aimed at providing the good government or good governance by ensuring national and global security. The military and other security agencies are therefore tasked with the responsibility of ensuring international security and protection of the territorial integrity of a nation. A nation's security, therefore, is premised on national interest. Is premised on national interest, as well as our strategic and systematic steps and calculations. Citizens naturally expect their government to provide them with security. And the 1999 Constitution has made that clear, particularly in section 14, that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary cause of government. Now, there are two major concepts in this topic. One is security, and the other one is extrajudicial killings. I've already tried to describe security, but more from all these definitions, perhaps one that really strikes me is the one by the former Secretary General of United Nations Organization, Kofi Annan, a Ghanaian. He simply put it by saying, without security, there can be no development. And without development, there can be no security. Now, Professor Buzan, Barry Buzan, an expert on security discourse, says there are three factors that are interdependent and interrelated when discussing security matters. And these are life, health, status, wealth, and freedom. In Nigeria, we have different security agents that involve themselves in this extrajudicial killings. It will therefore be nice to just, even if from a cursory angle, just to have a bird's eye view. The first is the Nigerian police, which you can find in sections 214 and 215 of the 1999 Constitution, particularly the provision of their duties in section 4 of the Police Act. And we all know that they are in charge of investigation, monitoring, prosecution of offenses to ensure that the citizens are well protected. But can we say the citizens in Nigeria are well protected? We find young people carrying AK-47 rifles in the name of cattle herders, and they are not checked. they invade farms, kill people in their farms extrajudicially. In spite of Article 2.1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, which makes it clear that every country should endeavor to create socio-economic, political, and cultural environment, enabling environment fit for business to thrive. We also have the Nigerian Army. Amongst the military, I will single out the Nigerian Army because they relate more with the people than the Air Force and the Navy. And we have seen how many of them are involved in extrajudicial killings in this country. Many times.
Chief Mike, before you go further, let me bring in Chief Ikide to find out from him. Chief Ikide, what in your opinion is responsible for this increasing rate of extrajudicial killing in Nigeria on daily basis, as we recorded earlier?
Thank you, Chairman of Session. I want to understand us as saying that extrajudicial killings are killings carried out by state actors, law enforcement agents, without any input from the judicial system. So I think, first and foremost, we might trace it to lack of faith in the judicial system, 1. 2, law enforcement agents do not seem to believe that the judicial system is part of the machinery for law enforcement and crime control in the society. And then thirdly, I could say impunity. And finally, lack of proper understanding, training, and education as to what arms are supposed to be used for. I think those are the things I think are responsible and could be the root cause of extrajudicial killings.
Chief Obani, thank you very much. Chief Obani, do you think that these problems as identified by your colleagues can ever be addressed satisfactorily in Nigeria and to the admiration of the international community? Chief Obani, are you with us? Chief Modiobani. Chief Obani, are you there with us? Okay, Chief Ikede, while we are expecting Obani to join us, did you get my question? I said, can these problems you identified ever be addressed in Nigeria to the satisfaction of Nigerians and to the admiration of the international community?
Yes, it can be addressed. In fact, I had thought that in a session like this, we would have had representatives of the law enforcement agents, because we really need to train and retrain and educate people that if you are involved in criminal investigation, the end point of that investigation process is charge before a court and conviction, or a discharge and acquittal. You cannot go on killing people where there is no judicial pronouncement of guilt. And let me make the point that a lot of times what they kill people for would not even carry the death penalty. In other words, you think a boy is harassing a girl, which ordinarily would be rape. There is nowhere where rape will attract death penalty. Yet you kill a person for that reason, which if he was
proposed amendment.
Yes, even when he's charged before a court of law, he would not even have gotten death as a result. So I think that we need to really, really engage security forces and educate people on what due process of the law actually means.
Yes, Chief Obani, are you back? Chief Obani, are you with us now? It doesn't appear he's with us. Chief
I'm back, yes.
Obani, are you back?
I'm here, I'm back.
Yes, I wanted to know if these problems could ever be solved in Nigeria to the satisfaction of Nigerians and the international community. I don't know if you are here when the chief executive tried to itemize the cost. Yes, go ahead and tell us. I was asking whether this problem of judicial killing can ever be addressed in Nigeria to the satisfaction of Nigerians and the international community. Chief Obani. Chief Obani is not here. Chief Oseko, are you with us?
Yes, of course, I am.
Please, what steps do you think the people and the government can take or employ to end this impunity? Or how can we develop a robust internal and external accountability mechanism in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think before going into that, Mr. Chairman, there's a need for us to open up the topic more by doing a categorization of extrajudicial killings, which, as we have found out, non-sanctioned.
Go ahead.
Which, as we have found out, is a killing that is not sanctioned by course of law. I have here the fact that killings are carried out by law enforcement officials or other security officers of alleged criminals during attempts to extort money from civilians. You could also have politically motivated extrajudicial killings. There are also killings done during armed conflicts. We also have what we call targeted killings of suspected terrorists during counter-terrorism conflicts. It doesn't in any way diminish it from being an extrajudicial killing. The fact that you are carrying out reprisals. The important thing is that you have also carried out reprisals extrajudicially. Killings by non-state actors, which could include paramilitary groups that I mentioned earlier. And of course, you have deaths in custody resulting from torture, poor health care, inadequate food, killings of prisoners by guards, and inter-prison violence. All of them, nonetheless, are killings.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was asking, can this ever be addressed in Nigeria?
Yes, it can be addressed in Nigeria by looking at certain measures that can be put in place in Nigeria. For example, the laws must be amended in such a way as to provide stiff penalty for people who carry out extrajudicial killings, apart from mere official condemnation. We need to enact strong laws to prevent extrajudicial killings. The chain of command within the security offices, like within the police, for example, Inspector General Police to Deputy Inspector General Police, AIG, and all that, is the Nigerian police force as we have it today is behemoth. It's quite unwieldy, as provided for sections 214 and 215 of the 1999 Constitution. And that is why many states we have been clamoring for state police and state and community policing. Because by the time a command or the chain command hierarchically issues commands down the line to the people who are actually suffering, much damage would have been done. So we therefore need seriously to look at this issue of state policy, which some states in Nigeria, like the Southwest geopolitical zone that has started at Motekun, which the federal government is again trying to annex by saying they want to annex it. I think it is not necessary. Let the states, let the regions take care of their own security. There's a need also to prohibit death squads. We have certain death squads that are everywhere across the country now. In some communities, some of them are called vigilante groups. They stop and search. When they don't have satisfactory answer, they just allow the bullet to go off. We also need, as a measure, prohibition of secret detention. You want to detain a person, detain him in a government-approved institution, where he can be assessed. Otherwise, people can be taken away quietly and killed. There's a need to prosecute extrajudicial killers and then give compensation to victims of extrajudicial killing. If they have been killed, then to their parents, to their family. We also need seriously to reorientate security forces in Nigeria and tell them that taking life is ungodly and that life can never be replaced. Of course, we need to collaborate with international organizations, increase the autonomy of the Nigerian police force and other security agencies, and then generally, like I've said, decentralize the Nigerian police force, which is mostly involved because they are closer to the people, they relate more with the people, they do stop and check. Where they
Chief Ozekhome, let me bring Obane here now to further say what you're saying, if he agrees, that some people are saying that present-day inadequacy or insufficiency of training of these security agencies may also be responsible for some of these extrajudicial killings. Chief Obane, if you're with us now, do you agree with that statement? Chief Obane, something must be wrong there. Chief Obane, are you with us?
Unmute your Chief Obane. Unmute it.
I've unmuted it. Are you hearing me?
I hear you
now.
now.
Hear you. I was asking. Yes, Chief Obane, I was asking that after what Chief Ozekhome said, I am of the opinion, as expressed by some others too, that our policemen and soldiers and other security agencies are today not sufficiently or adequately trained. Do you share that view?
Yes, thank you for having me. There has been a conspiracy for me not to participate, but God has actually brought me back. You know, I totally share that view that one of the major problems we have in Nigeria with regards to issue of extrajudicial killing is that the Nigerian police or some of the security agents lack what you call capacity. They do not in any way employ the normal thing that's supposed to be employed, a scientific approach in investigation. And most of the crimes that are committed in Nigeria are so complex. And when most of them encounter complex situations and do not have the capacity and do not have the skill and do not have the scientific structure in place to carry out an effective investigation that will unravel the commission of the crime, they get frustrated. And when they are frustrated, they resort to this issue of eliminating the accused person that is clearly in their custody, because it's a question of proof beyond reasonable doubt. And when they have this issue of not having evidence within which to take the matter to court.
Chief Obane, I was saying whether inadequacy of training or insufficiency of training of these security personnel contributes to this this issue of extrajudicial killing.
That is what I'm saying. If you're hearing me very loud and clear, I say, yes, they lack this issue of training. Most of the Nigerian police officers, unlike what happened in the 60s and in the 50s, you know, when the whites were here, they usually go for training in which all this issue of how to handle complex issues are, you know, handled by the Nigerian police. Now, apart from the training, I also was mentioning that the issue of applying science and technology in investigation is very critical. As long as we do not in any way employ such, most Nigerian agents, I mean security agents, get frustrated when they have in their custody an accused person and they cannot unravel the commission of the crime. Now, in their frustration, what they resort to is killing that accused person that is in their custody. So issue of training is actually implicated. Issue of lacking structure, especially scientific instrument within which to carry out an effective investigation is also an issue, is also implicated. And so most times they resort to frustration, and frustration will lead them now to begin to take laws into their hand by violating the right to life of Nigerian citizens, by killing them. I have instances where I have handled a case where a Nigerian policeman accosted my client who was coming back from work. And where are you coming from? I am coming from work. The next thing is that they entered into an argument and he shot my client. He shot my client, but luckily for my client, he did not die. He was flown to India, eventually came back to Nigeria. We started a case against Nigerian Police Authority. For 5 years, this particular case was in court. We eventually got judgment against Nigerian police. Now, execution became an issue. So what I'm trying to say is that most of them lack sufficient training. They lack sufficient skill. And most importantly, the scientific instrument within which to carry out investigation is lacking. You know, if you watch some of the films, you know, abroad, you see when a crime is committed, security agents come into the scene. They now start reconstruction of how that crime is committed. How did they usually come to reconstruct, to know what has happened, even in the absence, is issue of application of science and technology, like CCTV, having database. Some of these basic things that will help in investigation is lacking here. And so that's why policemen and all the security agents end up killing, you know, because they are frustrated. And they are frustrated and they are desperate to get evidence within which to prosecute. And when that evidence is lacking, what they do is just to waste the life of that individual. So issue of lack of training, issue of sufficiency of skill.
It's like we're still having that problem with you. While we rectify it, Chief Ikide, do you think, like Chief Obadi said, do you think we have enough training institutions for these security agents? And if you do you also think that the period of training as they enjoy now is enough to bring out a well-groomed security personnel? Chief Ikide.
Well, yes.
If you ask me, I have not. Okay.
I'll come back to you.
In my humble opinion, learning and education, well, you cannot have an end to it. The need for training and retraining must be a continuous exercise. Now, no form of reformation can take place in a human being unless his mindset is reformed and retuned. And so that is where I think the disconnect is. Now, I would come to the point shortly. But let me make the point that while we heap all the blames on security agencies, let us also know that there are vicious criminals out there who can also put the life of these security agents at risk. And so even Section 33 of the Constitution that guarantees that right to life has derogations and circumstances where some measure of force can be put in place, which could result in the loss of life. But those are exceptions and shouldn't be the rule, as we are beginning to see. Now, in as much as we blame the security agents, let me situate this problem even within the educated community. Now, do you know that in our history, for instance, we have had an instance of extrajudicial killing done by a Ministry of Justice somewhere? Now, it is shocking. It is shocking. I know we are all aware here, but maybe the audience. Now, if we remember the case of Bello against Attorney General for your state that got to the Supreme Court in 1986, that was the case of a man who had appealed against a death sentence. And by the rules, once that appeal was pending, you were not supposed to carry out that execution. Yet he was executed when that appeal was pending. And the Supreme Court came down heavily on that action. In fact, that goes back to what the lead speaker said about adequate compensation. That case was filed by the dependents to get compensated for the deaths of their breadwinner. And the Supreme Court came down heavily in fact, described that situation as bad because he was executed in defiance of what the law provides. That was not done by policemen. It was done by people in the Ministry of Justice. So extrajudicial killing, we must keep educating persons and we must keep educating security agents because we do not know who the next victim might be. As gentle as we are in this panel, we do not know the day anything can go wrong with any gentleman, and then the next thing we hear, we are grappling with this problem. So I think educating the security agents and the security agencies, in fact, like I said before, having them in a panel like this to discuss this and then going back with the message to their constituency is a very great idea. Training and retraining. You do not take the laws into your own hands.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief. Chief Obane, we are having a problem with your system. I believe you are okay now.
I hope so.
I was asking the question, do you think that, yes, I believe so too. Do you think that the training institutions we have in Nigeria are training for our security personnel? And do you also think that the period they stay in these institutions is enough for them to come out well-groomed security agents?
Well, I have not been to any of the colleges where police officers are trained, and I also have not have the privilege of looking at the curriculum vitae of the colleges we have across the country where policemen are being trained. But my candid opinion is that the number of months within which these policemen are trained, to me, is very, very short. I think it's within a period of 6 months from people you just gather all over from the country and you gather them in a school. One do not know the content of the training itself. And as I said earlier, a country that do not in any way employ science and technology in training their policemen, we end up having problems. It's a country also that do not have database. Simple investigation of crime.
Are you on?
Yeah, they just disconnected me, but I'm back. I'm happy to be back. Okay. I was making an example of issue of science and technology. And I'm saying that a country that do not have database cannot in any way investigate a simple crime of somebody who has committed a crime somewhere in Ikeja and has relocated to somewhere in Agege. And it takes years for you to discover that particular accused person. But that does not happen in a country like US or even in Britain, where if you commit a crime in one particular locality, no matter where you run to, because of the fact that there is a database, because of the in taking note of whoever is a citizen in the country, they can trace you wherever you run to. And so if you go where these policemen are trained, what manner of science and tech are they exposed to? What manner of structure in place are they exposed to? And then how many years do their training take in order to come back and now become effective police officers within a Nigerian society that is very complex? So to my mind, I do not believe that they have enough, curriculum vitae that actually will take care of investigating complex country like Nigeria in terms of crime and investigation. And also issue of the number of years or days or months they stay in that police college, barely 6 months after which they are churned out. And I don't see training and retraining going on the way we used to hear about our policemen going to colleges in America, in US, in UK for proper training before they come back into the country. So I don't think we have enough training that has been actually mapped out for our police officers or security agents in Nigeria that will actually give us some level of confidence that they can effectively police our state. And that is my view. We don't have enough. We don't have enough training. We don't have enough curriculum vitae to actually tackle effective issue of investigation.
We can. Yes, Chief Obani. Let's hear Chief Ozekome. I'm asking Chief Ozekome, are there measures we can adopt to bring Nigeria into alignment with international human rights norms or international human rights, international acceptable minimum standard?
Of course, we have signed all the necessary international instruments. We are signatories to the various international instruments for the protection of human rights, against torture, for the protection of the dignity of man. We are already aligned. The question is the capacity, the local capacity for us to now, walk the talk by carrying out these things which they are done in advanced countries. I also think, Mr. Chairman, that so far,
it looks like we're having a problem with you there too, Chief Ozekome.
No, I'm speaking. I'm speaking the way I've been doing since.
Yeah, but we're not hearing you well here.
Except if it's from the Secretariat.
Yes, it must be from the Secretariat.
Speaking the normal way I've been doing. Can you now put this
okay, while we're waiting. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me well now?
No, it's not. While we're waiting.
Can you hear me well?
We cannot hear you well. Go ahead.
Okay. I am saying.
It's still breaking. Yes, go ahead now.
Yeah. No, take it off that one. Can you hear me now? No, when it goes off, chop that square. When it goes up, they hear me. No, it's fine. Can you hear me now? No.
Yeah, I can hear you here.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you from here now.
Okay, good. I said so far, we'll be talking about extrajudicial killing, mainly from the police.
Yes.
About killing one person or the other. We have not really looked at what I will call organized government group killing. Organized government group killing. We remember the 2005, June 2005, Akpo 6 massacre of 6 young people who were traders in Abuja that led to national uproar, over which the Justice Goodluck panel, Judicial Commission of Inquiry, had to be set up with some police officers blamed for being complicit. We remember that one of those police officers was later again integrated into the system and even promoted after he had escaped from the country. We remember the OD massacre of 1999, where over 100 people were killed by the military. Over what? Because of a little dispute between the locals and the military. We remember the Zaki Biam massacre of 2001 in Benue State, where carefully organized government security forces, the army, went to Zaki Biam community, lined up the people, separated the men from the women, and shot the men cold-bloodedly and openly in open daybreak. And after that, they set fire on these people and burnt them, which also led to not just national, but international uproar. The point one must make here is that under international law,
will you also add
and as they do it abroad, because when we want to talk, we always compare ourselves with America, European countries and all that. There are sanctions. There are sanctions and punishment for a crime when committed. But in Nigeria, crimes are hardly punished or hardly sanctioned, which therefore leads to a situation of recidivism of a criminal committing a crime again because he knows that there are no dire consequences if he repeats that same crime. So I think we should therefore strengthen our penal system to serve as deterrence against people who carry out these extrajudicial killings, whether members of the military, or the army, or the government, or even civilians themselves. I think this is important.
Thank you very much. Chief Ikeda, do you have anything to add on that issue?
Thank you, Chairman. Just a little.
Chief Ikeda, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, I can hear you now.
Okay, sir. Now,
go ahead.
A little bit of divergence from the point taken by the lead speaker. I do not understand genocide and crimes against humanity to mean extrajudicial killing. I am taking extrajudicial killing from the prism that you have state actors seeking to terminate the lives of persons they allege to be criminals without first going through the due process.
Recourse to the courts.
Recourse to the courts. So that's where I take it. Now, we often refer to the civilized world. Of course, we know that this year, apart from coronavirus and the elections coming up in America, we have dealt only with issues of extrajudicial killings. But that one is based on racial divide because it happens from whites to blacks. So while we try to pick models, let us know that in America, it is an endemic problem carried out by policemen against unarmed black persons. So we could move far ahead of their system. I have often said, and I would repeat it here, that for me, I prefer to treat every extrajudicial killing as murder until you involved in that act comes to establish your provocation or whatever would have led you into it. And the Supreme Court has been consistent on issues relating to trigger-happy policemen or security agents who go and just take the lives of persons without due process. In fact, if the lead speaker had gone page by page with his paper, you would have seen that he dealt seriously with the judicial condemnation of extrajudicial killings. And so I will stop at this point and then let me enjoy my fellow discussants.
Thank you. Thank you. Chief Ubani, I don't know how your system is operating now. Are you back with us?
I am here live with you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, the last question is still vital. Can I hear your view?
That is issue of international standard.
Yes, what we can do to bring Nigeria at the level of international community with regard to this extrajudicial killing. What can we do? What steps can we take?
Well, my knowledge is that we have signed and ratified some of the international treaties and protocols that deal with issue of allowing judicial process to apply to an accused person. African Charter, we have even ratified it here, deals with issue of guarantee life. UN declaration is part of our protocols here. So we have so many other treaties that we have signed that deals with issue of how to handle an accused person when that accused person is arrested. Why we should be worried actually about issue of extrajudicial killing, even as stated by the lead speaker and my good learned friend that is there, is that it destroys the two fundamental guaranteed right of presumption of innocence and fair hearing. Anyone can be a victim. Anyone can be a victim. And that's why we should be very concerned about the issue of extrajudicial killing. I have had instances where people who have big pockets, I mean, they're very rich, we conspire with security agents and say, look, we have a target. I want this person to be eliminated. And before you know it, there is issue of trump-up charges against an accused person. The next thing you hear is that that person is killed. And in Nigeria, justice is sold to the highest bidder. If you don't have any money, I've been told by a senior police officer that if you don't have any money, there is no justice for the poor. So most times people are eliminated. on trump-up charges. And that's why we should be worried and raise this issue. I'm happy that NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, is bringing this topic of extrajudicial killing as part of our discussion. And I believe that at the end of this particular conference, a communique will be issued in which it will be stated that this is condemned and that something should be done, including enacting a law that expressly says it is clearly illegal for any security agent or any state actor to engage in extrajudicial killing. And the consequences. One thing is for us to have a remedy already prescribed by law. It's also enforceability. I have had an issue where I have a judgment for 5 years now against Nigerian police. I have not been able to execute because it is the police that will execute that judgment. So we must have a way. I have written to the Attorney General. I have not had any particular, remedy. I have written I even brought in Central Bank when I wanted to garnish Nigerian police. They have been hiding the account of Nigerian police. So one thing is to get judgment and get remedy when your right have been violated. But what is the possibility of enforcement? So these things have to be done by way of law reform. Yes.
Chief Obade, it looks like it looks like we're going to round up the discussion on what you're saying. Gentlemen, all three of you, starting from the lead speaker, we have itemized all these problems, but one area that is still lacking, one area we have not addressed. What do you gentlemen suggest will be a way out? How do we get out of this problem? Chief Ozekomi.
I think, Mr. Chairman, in the last 30 minutes, we have from different perspectives been discussing how we can get out of this cul-de-sac that we have found ourselves, from training of relevant security agencies or agents to retraining them. We have also talked about introducing scientific and technological methodology to have clear data. I think the only point we have not yet mentioned is the welfare of these security forces that we are talking about. Because they are also human beings like us, we live in the same society. Where you find, for example, a policeman who has been in the police force for 20 to 22 years and is still an ordinary sergeant, and his salary is still not up to 50,000 naira in a month, and is living in a ramshackle barracks. That is where he's even lucky at all. Wow. Then that is certainly human danger waiting to happen. It's like a bomb waiting to explode. So when you send a person like that to the street, to a road checkpoint, to go and accost travelers, and then he asks them for money, they could call it particular, which we have understood when they ask, where are your particulars? They are actually asking you for your particular. That is, give it right. And then a mere argument about 100 naira or 200 naira, that already frustrated police officer who is already a time bomb gets angry, and because he has the arms, he pulls the trigger and kills that innocent person. That is extrajudicial killing because it has not been sanctioned by a court of law. Like Mr. Ekide said, I have put out many pronouncements here by the appellate courts as to why extrajudicial killing must be involved. But I also want to emphasize it that the instances I listed amount to extrajudicial killing. Because in the OD case, in the Akpo 6 case, in the Zaki Biam case, the military and the police felt that these young men or these people had done something wrong. They did not take them through the judicial process for them to be judged according to their actions. But because they had the arms and ammunition, they went into the villages, opened fire on defenseless citizens of this country and killed them. If it were in other international cycles, such people would be sanctioned very seriously, even for international crimes. Look at the Boko Haram example, for example. Mohammed Yusuf, that is the name of the young man. It was in 2009. He was in his in-laws' house when some people, some officers of the military went to the in-laws' house, smoked out this young man, and killed him. We are told that that is what exacerbated the Boko Haram insurgency since that 2009, that today has become indefinable and unstoppable. That was extrajudicial, because you could have taken that young man, you could have arrested him and taken him to a court of law to try. But you went and smoked him out and killed him. But that is not to say that the Boko Haram, which was already there, must be approved by any sane thinking person. They themselves are carrying out extrajudicial killings because they go around using their arms and ammunition to kill people innocently, and the government appears helpless. So I think the government itself must strengthen its institutional framework for crime detection, crime prevention, with the security agencies sharing information amongst themselves, EFCC, PIA, NIA, the police, the military, army, Air Force, Navy, the paramilitary, like customs, immigration, civil defense. When all of them begin to share information and we begin to have intelligence report, I think we will have a better community to work with.
Thank you very much. Chief Ikide, do you have any contribution on this topic? What is the way out? Can we hear you, Chief Ikide? I was asking you, what is the way out, or what are the ways out?
Can you hear me, sir?
Clearly.
Can you hear me, sir?
Very clearly. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. I think I will end on the note of education and more education. Security agencies must be told and educated to understand that unless, yes, sir. My final word is, that is the point where we are, is that we must educate security agencies to understand that unless you are, can you hear me, sir?
I can see hear you, yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Go ahead.
Education, like I said, cannot be education. And
I can't hear you again.
Unless you are facing a life-threatening circumstance, you should not deploy lethal weapons. Unless you are facing life-threatening circumstances, you should never deploy lethal weapons. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Chief Obani.
Yes. My candid view, Mr. Chairman, is that
yes, before you continue, I understand that members of the audience will like to ask questions, and their questions will be directed at any one of you, and that may be where we round up. So go ahead with this while we expect the audience to ask questions. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I think that the moment we punish crime in this part of the world and do not allow impunity to thrive, then I can assure you that something will be done on the part of the security agents to handle the lives of citizens in a more careful manner. I have discovered that over time, most of the cases, and they are legion, where policemen have wasted the lives of citizens, there is always a cover-up, or even when there is a recourse to judicial process, it takes so long that even the complainants will lose interest in prosecution, and at the end, the matter is discharged, the accused persons are discharged and acquitted for lack of diligent prosecution. So we must insist that those who commit the crime of violating people's life, killing people's life, in a manner that does not follow due process must be made to pay for it, including the state government themselves or federal government being made to pay heavily to the victims of those who have their rights have been violated. It's very important. The issue of chain and command. You don't send policemen or security agents to the road without proper monitoring. We have had issues where there is no effective monitoring of what goes on by the security officers that we send on the road. And that again accounts to this issue of impunity in the system. We must monitor them and they must be held accountable, especially when it concerns the issue of life. And I also want a legal reform where expressly will be stated that issue of extrajudicial killing attracts death penalty, including civil remedy for those victims that are affected. So I think in addition to what the lead speaker and my learned friend has said, the issue of training and retraining and making sure that people who are employed as security agents get proper and respect human life. It is important we have regard and revere human life. The moment we don't have regard for human life, we can just waste it the way we feel like. And that is why people are doing what they are doing without any proper punishment. So we must make people to know that life is valuable and you cannot waste it except there is a due process. It's very important. And so we are ready to take questions from our listeners.
Thank you very much. May we know from all the centers you ladies and gentlemen are watching, whether anybody has any question for our panelists. If you do, please direct your question and tell me the name of the person you want your question answered. At the end of that, at the end of the answer, if any other member of the panel has something to say in addition to what his colleague has said, is allowed. Is anybody ready to ask any question? Any of our listeners ready to ask any question? Our listeners nationwide, is anybody ready to ask any question on this topic of security and extrajudicial killing? We have listened to these three gentlemen make their points on this issue. So is anybody agitated with any question so that we can take it? Otherwise, we may round up. We're still open. Has anybody any question? In the absence of any question, may I invite the lead speaker, Chief Michael Zekome, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to say something on a final note.
Yes, on a final note, the only area I am not comfortable with, I don't believe in the death penalty. Generally, I don't believe in the death penalty because life wasted can never be replaced, and two wrongs cannot make a right. And also, taking life, it has been shown, does not in any way constitute deterrence to offenders. As a Christian, I want to believe that scriptural biblical injunction, thou shalt not kill. Having said that, we must also do something about changing our entire societal ethos. The society itself today, in our psyche, the way we reason, the way we think, is completely warped. There's so much hatred. There's so much antagonism. There is so much conflict. Too many religious, too many ethnic, too many linguistic, too many gender conflicts that has made peace to vacate its seat, to the extent that when the various ethnic groupings are speaking with each other, they are actually speaking in parables, in soliloquy, in monologue. there is no love. The society itself has gone so mercantilistic that everything is about money, money, and money. Our young ones no longer want to respect elders because they go for this internet, what they call Yahoo Yahoo. They just want to make money as quickly as possible. The churches themselves, the religious institutions themselves, that ought to be a moderating force to have a saner society, are themselves involved in this outrage, where you find, 419ers, where you find Otokoto people, where you find questionable characters being taken to the front pews or the front mats in our churches and in our mosques, and these people buying doctorate degrees from universities, which have also been compromised, being given national honors and decorated with national honors rather than being in jail. I think we therefore need a total national, what Dr. K.O. Mbadiwe late, God bless his soul, we call total national economic, social, and political resurgimento. Otherwise, we are going worse and worse on a daily basis. God forbid, Armageddon.
Thank you. Maybe next time we'll meet, we'll talk about the issue of what is it that when you were talking about that the Bible said, thou shalt not kill. I do not think that we'll discuss that on another occasion. The issue of Bible said, thou shalt not kill. I don't think it meant not killing criminals who committed heinous crimes. Otherwise, if you interpret thou shalt not kill literally what you have done, you will not even kill mosquitoes because it's that.
I mean, extrajudicial, just going to kill another person.
But no. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thou shalt not kill. Oh, I understand it to mean that certain punishments that require the death penalty.
Yes.
Well served, could also be well served if, for example, you put life imprisonment. I mean it, and I stand by that. I'm a human rights activist, I'm a Christian, and I mean that. Thou shalt not kill. The death penalty has not. Kidnappers are being killed. When armed robbers are being killed over the years, has that deterred this offense?
Do you know what the society will have looked like if those people were not killed?
So I believe that
thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not kill anybody worthy of existence. Not a man who deliberately takes the life of another, and you say you don't believe in death penalty. Such a person should be allowed to live. Can you imagine a situation, a society like ours, if people like Oyenusi of old, characters like that are still living up to today? What do you think Nigeria will look like? If you remove one, it is -1, and that is why we can manage the society today.
The killing we are having, the killing of people sentenced, what has it led to? Are we not?
It has led to a reduction of heinous crimes like that. It has led to reduction. Like I said, that is a topic discussion on another day. I want to find out from Chief Ikide if he has anything to add on this issue you have now taken up.
That's never.
Ikide, are you there with us? Chief Ikide. Okay, Chief Ubani, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here live.
Okay. I am here with you, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Which of you is talking to me now?
Mr. Ikide is around.
Okay, Ikide, please tell us, is there any other thing you want to add on the final notes by way of suggestion on how we can solve this problem, apart from the earlier ones you said?
I will emphasize again, when next we are having a forum like this, representatives of security agencies should be with us.
Unfortunately,
yes, I am here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I said it wasn't within our powers to invite.
Sir?
I can hear you, and I'm saying
yes, sir.
That unfortunately it wasn't within our powers to invite them, but we'll make recommendations. Yes.
So it is still education.
Hello? Go ahead, I'm listening. We are listening, sir. Okay.
There should be synergy
Yes.
between the law enforcement agencies
Okay.
and our ministries of justice and the legal community. It is still to educate. Yes, 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 sir. Yes, sir. We have to educate them.
That's all right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Chief Obadi, can you round up?
Yes, I just want to say this. There is one particular interesting angle that I didn't have time to talk about, but I should say it now as my closing remark. And I had an interview with this anti-robbery police officers. And some of the reason why they do what they do, according to them, is they don't have confidence in our judicial system. According to them, they had instances where hardened criminals have been arrested and taken to court. Within a short time, they see those criminals back to society. And now when they get them rearrested, so the best thing they think they can do is to eliminate them. So I have found out also that most of their investigation and evidences they assemble with which to prosecute, most time we fall short of expectation. And there is no way the court can go ahead and convict an accused person without sufficient evidence that is proven beyond reasonable doubt. So it's also important that the police also look at the issue of investigation. Investigation is key. For you to get an accused person convicted, you must have sufficient evidence to establish the guilt of that individual. We must also say that the judiciary must also take a look, introspection in itself. Are we really complicit? Are we also aiding criminals to escape justice that also make the society to feel frustrated that the best thing they can do in the circumstance is to take away life without due process, without going through the court process? So these are issues that actually people should consider more and take a further discussion so that we can have a society all of us shall be safe. The danger of extrajudicial killing is that an innocent man can be roped in. It can be any person. And before you know it, that person is shot without being heard, without opportunity of telling your own side of the story. That's why we must not in any way encourage it in any way. We must ensure that people have time to answer to any allegation against them before any decision of court is taken against them for them to die. That to me is very important. We must emphasize it and we must keep on debating it until we have a society all of us shall be very safe. It's important for us as a nation.
Thank you very much. I just want to take that on a lighter note. Do you believe in death sentences?
I certainly believe that if somebody has killed another person and that particular matter is proved beyond reasonable doubt, because there are instances where an innocent person can be convicted. That is why people now is against the issue of death sentence. Don't kill, let it be maybe life sentence. He may be found to be innocent later. But if it is proven that this person actually killed, I don't have any doubt that whoever killed must also be killed. But the danger is most innocent people are, convicted wrongly. And before you know it, their lives have been taken away. And then later you find people are arguing, why don't we actually ask them to spend their lifetime in custody rather than killing them?
Thank you very much. Distinguished gentlemen of the bar and the general public who had the opportunity of listening to us. Well, in the last 1 hour or so, we've been talking about security and extrajudicial killing. We have identified what these mean. We have also found out why people engage in extrajudicial killing. We have also made suggestions on how to get out of a menace like this. We have also discussed generally on whether or not our security men are adequately or sufficiently trained. And recommendations have been made that should be training and retraining. Recommendations have been made that nobody should be allowed to handle any weapon when such a person has not received sufficient training on the issue of handling of weapons. I think we'll have an opportunity next time to continue a discussion as robust as this. But meanwhile, may I, on behalf of the organizers of this conference, thank all of you for listening, and thank you, gentlemen, for being on the panel. May I start first thanking the lead speaker, Chief Mike Ozekome, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Can you say thank you to my people? Thank you very much. Chief Ikide, can I hear you say thank you to my people? Chief Ikide.
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Go ahead. Can you say thank you to my people as we leave?
Oh, I am eternally grateful for this opportunity. And I pray that we make this a continuous process of training and retraining and synergy between law enforcement agencies and our justice delivery system. Thank you.
Yes, Chief Monday Oyekachi Obani. Can I hear you say
Mr.
thank you?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, clearly this is very profound. I am privileged to be part of this year's conference. And I think the takeaway is that we must build a country that all of us shall be very safe. It is important that whoever is accused of a crime must have a day in court in order to probably give answer to whatever allegation has been leveled against. It is not right for any life to be wasted without due process. That is my conclusion. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you very much. I thank all of you for your contributions. I thank you, gentlemen, for listening. My name is CAN Wokuku SAN. Thank you very much.